Hello, Shalom. I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We solve little pieces of Revelation. This will be Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17, the sixth seal, and then the fourth trumpet and the fourth bowl as we move forward, talking about 6G and mRNA health issues. Okay. What I'm arguing is that when you see the auroras, that means that we're getting photons first, then protons. That's a proton storm there. Okay. Coming through the poles. But when you add 6G in, you're going to notice RNA, mRNA, and DNA issues, especially in the transcription side. And we'll try to prove that today as we study the philosophy of the end of days. Try not to twist the Bible, try to give you prophecy and the news. So, Trump is part of the prophecy. Oh, 6G now, yeesh, 5G. I was the leader in 5G, getting that done. And now that we're up to 6, what does that do? Give you a little bit deeper view into somebody's skin. He doesn't understand. According to Daily Beast on the right-hand side, Grandpa Trump, 79, struggles to get his head around 6G. He just knows that if he is given a goal, he gets it done. Okay. The problem is that none of what he talked about made any sense at all. So we'll try to make some sense today. According to Tom's Guide, and this is a recent article in September 23rd, 2025, 6G is coming sooner than you think. Qualcomm is ready to have 6G devices as early as 2028. Okay. And so they've been working on it since 2021. There are rumors and things like that. And so it's interesting. It's not necessarily bad in itself. They haven't done enough research to see what it does when it interacts with your bodies, especially DNA, RNA. They're coming up with ideas like, well, faster speeds for virtual reality surgeries, AI tutors. And so they are coming up with many reasons, but it's really not that much of a difference. The difference is that it's sent out via towers, and it's microwave technology. So Trump's 5G becomes 6G as human and animals, RNA, DNA, especially rMNA, the messenger system, is under severe geomagnetic stress, and I'll prove that to you. We used to assume magnetite helped humans and animals with migratory abilities. No, it's the RNA. Our mRNA and DNA and RNA are under attack from a thinning magnetosphere and increasing solar storms, plus 6G and gene therapy jibby-jabbers. Okay? So let's do the stuff that's the physics and the science that we can prove. This is a report from NASA, from a report citing from 1859 to the year 2000 that we lost 10% of our magnetosphere. Okay? And this is cited out after the year 2000. Then, after the year of 2010, ESA, European Space Agency, started talking about the South Atlantic anomaly. So you can see the picture up there. And then in the last 150 years, the magnetic field has lost 15% of its strength. We believe now that it's down about 30%. And that I'm telling you, as we start to round the bend towards hell, we'll hit the sixth seal and then the fourth bowl and in between the fourth trumpet. Okay. And the fourth trumpet is more like a dust event, but it's still, you'll notice it. Okay. When a third of the sun, moon, stars are obliterated by dust, you'll notice it. So, according to Ben, yeah, he thinks it's down. The total strength is down to about 70% or maybe 75%. But we're seeing more of these types of storms on the right-hand side. That's from 11/11 of 2025. That was not much of a storm, but look at how deep it went. And they were seeing auroras down into the lower latitudes. So obviously something's wrong. So once again, the South Atlantic anomaly, and it's morphing and changing. So this is a question asked to AI. Yes, UV radiation does increase during a solar storm. Specifically, during a solar flare, the sun emits a surge of high energy radiation, including extreme ultraviolet EUV radiation, which briefly increases the amount of UV radiation in space. However, most of this increased UV radiation is or was absorbed by Earth's atmosphere, okay, based on our BZ. This leakage can lead to phenomena like auroras. Yes, UV radiation can be increased due to the South Atlantic anomaly. the SAA region where the Earth's magnetic field is weakened, allowing more charged particles and cosmic rays. Keep in mind, charged particles and cosmic rays to penetrate the atmosphere. These particles can then interact with the atmosphere, potentially leading to increased UV radiation at the surface. Okay, so we're in a wobble right now. This is reported. That's our pole movement. And it was going towards Canada. Now it's going towards Russia. Toward Russia. They're going to be dragged across the North Pole. If you want verses to prove that, look for Isaiah 24, about 16 through 23, and you'll see the pole shift. According to Ben Davidson, we should expect a pole shift by 2030 to 2040. The problem is the signs of it are occurring more each day. And so let's talk about what Grok says in terms of emerging concerns and preliminary studies on what 6G could do to us. So some researchers highlight potential risks due to limited data on the frequencies. And a 2024 study on mice exposed to male reproductive organs to the THC radiation, finding damage to testicular tissue, reduced sperm quality, and inflammation at power densities as low as microwatts. Effects were reversible short term because it's sperm. It's reproduced daily. But long term repeated exposure remains uncertain. Other lab studies suggest possible non thermal effects such as DNA damage, oxidative stress, cell membrane changes, or apostasis in natural stem cells. Okay, interesting. So certain THC intensifies. Certain concerns extend to skin heating, fertility impacts, or neurological effects. That's the big one, neurological effects. It drives you kind of crazy, okay? And translatable to human 6G exposure scenarios. Critics argue current guidelines focus mainly on thermal effects and may overlook non-thermal mechanisms, calling for more research before widespread 6G deployment. That's Grok. Now let's look at some scientific reports. So a global screen for magnetically induced neuronal activity in the pigeon brain. So basically, pigeons are having problems figuring out where they're supposed to go, homing pigeons, things like that. So they're lost, they're dazed, they're confused. Magnetic RNA sense, calm before the storm. That's from November 27th from Ben Davidson, Space Weather. On the right-hand side, he explains it this way. Our top story today is this. They have literally come so far toward the Genesis level understanding of bird magnetic sense. It can be spooky, but sometimes the truth reveals more doors and hallways. On top of this confirmation that, yep, the entire animal kingdom is going to get very messed up during the magnetic pole shift. This is the fourth time in the last decade I have seen magnetic sense being tied to something related to RNA. Since all creatures either consciously or subconsciously interact with Earth's magnetic field, I'm going to go ahead and guess that messing with our RNA is probably the last thing any of us want to do. So as we have more solar storms driving deep into where we exist as humans, our RNA gets screwed up. And so this is a report talking about pigeons. And it's easier to study it in smaller animals than larger animals like us, although the whales are screwed up too. So mysterious magnetic fossils powered ancient animal navigation. So this is something where Peter Hoare was involved in it. So you can see the article from the University of Cambridge on the left-hand side. And so basically what we're getting at is these little microscopic animals can figure out navigation. We can analyze them for navigation better than larger animals. So you can pause it and read the article on the left, but let's read what it says on the right-hand side. Life has evolved a range of extraordinary senses, and magnetoreception is one of the most poorly understood forms. Birds, fish, other insects, other things like that use Earth's magnetic field to navigate vast distances, but how they detect it is still unclear. One theory is tiny crystals of magnetite within the body aligned with the Earth's magnetic field, acting like microscopic compass needles. No, that's not it. Certain bacteria found in lakes and water bodies worldwide possess a primitive form of magnetoreception. Chains of tiny magnetic particles inside the bacteria allow them to line up with the magnetic field. Once again, smaller is easier to analyze, helping them to swim to their preferred depth in the water column at 50 to 100 nanometers wide. These particles are the perfect compass needles, said Harrison. If you want to create the most efficient magnetic sense, smaller is better. Magnetic sense depends on chemical reactions involving excited radicals produced in the protein of the bird's retinas, cryptochromes, RNA, proteins, things like that. That seems to be the program. I'm saying that God programs animals and humans from the magnetoreception based on RNA. But then you also have DNA, and then you have the messenger system between the two. Okay, so ribonucleic acid, deoxyribonucleic acid, those two things plus the mRNA, the messenger system. And we'll discuss that later, don't worry. During the pole shift, animals will be confused, okay? So this is from the University of Oldenburg. Desert ants, small again, use the polarity of the geomagnetic field for navigation from 2024, December, year old. During pole flip, none of the ants will find their nests. Reference. The second one poured out is, now this is my reference, that animals will become confused and die during the end times. So this is the second bowl during Revelation 16. He poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood of dead person. Every living thing in the sea died. So they'll have navigation issues first. Then eventually we're going to have deaths, horrible deaths of animals. Okay? Expected. They will be confused as things get worse. Once again, you can pause it and you can read through the article if you want to. Okay? We're seeing it now with penguins. This penguin should not have swum up to Australia, but it did. And it wasn't following a hot stream or anything like that. It wasn't following food. It was disrupted, magnetically disrupted. And the migrations are off. So that's why this is about a year ago, November 1st of 2024, I believe. Yeah, so they're in Australia, and there's that crazy penguin hopping around by them. One of the theories behind the penguin's journey is that it was following a strong current. No, no, definitely not. These are the articles of whales and killer whales getting lost and getting confused. So according to Ben Davidson, he cited this in February 20th of 2025, signs of a pole flip. Nobody questions that breaching events are on the rise primarily in creatures using magnetic navigation as well, because the poles are shifting. So that was Ben from that article if you want to go listen to the video yourself. So more about the penguins. The bird was lost, or is lost, magnetically, according to Ben. And so these poor emperor penguins are trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. And of course, they shouldn't go towards Australia, but that's the way that they go because the poles are shifting. Okay, and the things are wobbling. So once again, this is from November 8th of 2024, a lost penguin. And so there are weather hard impacts too, yes. So let's ask AI some questions. This is Google AI. Yes, research strongly suggests solar storms, which disrupts Earth's magnetic field, can confuse animal navigation, leading to mass strandings in whales and disorientation in birds by interfering with their internal magnetic compasses, potentially causing deadly navigational errors like swimming into shallow waters. Studies link increased solar storm activity, radio noise, geomagnetic disturbances to higher stranding rates in whales, altered migration paths in birds, showing these celestial events can scramble the GPS. I argue that's RNA some animals rely on. More from Google AI. Disrupts magnetic sense. Many animals, including whales and migratory birds, use magnetoreception, sensing Earth's magnetic field to navigate. Scramble internal compass. Solar storms send charged particles and energy, causing geomagnetic disturbances and radio frequency noise that can overwhelm or distort the magnetic signals these animals use, essentially scrambling their internal compass. Causes deadly errors. This disorientation can make animals, especially whales, stray from the deep waters into shallow areas, leading them to get stuck. They think they're going the right direction, so they just keep on swimming until they hit the beach or whatever. Okay? So some animals nearly quantum sensing. So this is from Physics, January 16th of 2025. Biological magnetic sensing comes close to quantum limit. Researchers find that two types of biological magnetic sensor can sense fields close to the quantum limit, a finding that could guide the design of lab-made devices. So on the right-hand side, clipped from the article, the performance of the magnetic sensor can be characterized by three parameters: its volume, its measurement time, and the uncertainty of its magnetic field estimate. Each parameter can be made small, but there is a limit to their collective shrinking based on Planck's constant, a parameter that defines many quantum phenomena. All known lab-made meters obey this quantum limit because their small size and their small field changes they sense. Biological magnetometers are thought to operate near this limit, but biologists have been unable to determine all the relevant parameters precisely. So we may have to go, or we have to go quantum to be able to mimic this, mimicking biological magnetoreceptors such as quantum engineering. Interesting from physics. Okay, continuing on this path, December 5th of 2025, the impact of geomagnetic variations on medium energy proton flux at low altitudes, SPIE, I believe it's Germany. And so who cited this was Ben Davidson, Signs in the Sky, Stellar Flyby Corona Hole from December 14th of 2025. According to Ben, what he said was a look at how the changing magnetic field impacts the penetration depth of space protons. They looked at the South Atlantic anomaly, that's that hole, and they were able to characterize the amplified particle penetration and the impact of the Earth system, not to mention satellites. That is present when the geomagnetic protection of Earth is diminished. And it is another reason the excursion is likely to take out the geospace fleet. Those are the satellites. The South Atlantic anomaly, as the region of the Earth's magnetic field is weakest, poses a potential hazard to the operational safety of low Earth spacecraft due to changes in the space radiation environment. So what we're looking at is birds that migrate, whales or other fish that migrate, and then also it's going to knock satellites out too. Okay, the penetrations. This one's tough. I'm going to ask you to pause it and read it for yourself because it deals with synthetic mRNA, jibby-jabbers, and transcriptomic dysregulation, evidence from new onset adverse events and cancers post jibby-jabber. Okay, now this article was withdrawn. We don't know exactly why, but what I'm getting at is that just pause the article, read it for yourself. The main thing is there are problems occurring with synthetic mRNA. It's causing confusion and other problems and other health issues. So we'll give you all the reasons in a minute here. This is something where you can pause this again. It's from Nicholas Hulscher. And so it takes about 15 years to figure out what's happening with these modified mRNA type injections. So we don't know yet, okay? mRNA and other gene transfer technologies pose a serious threat to chromosomal stability and heritable human health. mRNA platforms, viral sectors, CRISPR systems can introduce irreversible genomic damage, including integration events, large-scale structural rearrangements, and germline exposure with transgenerational consequences. Okay, very interesting. So that's Nicholas Hulscher. Okay, this is from Creation magazine, and so what we're going to go through is the processes now of transcription. So DNA is not read directly, but first the cell makes a negative copy in a very similar molecule called RNA. A process called transcription works between the two of them. But in all organisms, other than most bacteria, there is more to transcription. This RNA reflected in the DNA contains regions called exons that code for proteins and non-coding regions called introns. So the introns are removed and the exons are spliced together to form mRNA, messenger RNA, that is finally decoded to form the protein. This requires an elaborate machinery called spliceosome. This is assembled in the intron, chops it out at the right place, and joins the exons together. See also this animation, and you can't see that, but anyway, this might be the right direction and place because, as shown above, it makes a huge difference if the exon is joined even one letter off. Thus, partly forming splicing machinery would be harmful, so natural selection would work against that. Richard Roberts, Philip Sharp won the 1993 Nobel Prize on Physiology and Medicine for discovering introns in 1977. Turns out that 97 to 98% of the genome may be introns and other non-coding sequences. It sounds like my computer coding, but this raises the question of why introns exist at all. Okay, so that's creation.com. What we're going through is this is a complex process, and anything can mess it up. Okay, 6G is one of those things. Initiation, RNA polymerase binding, DNA unwinding, RNA synthesis begins, elongation, RNA strand elongation, then the terminations cut, then the RNA and the RNA polymerase released. Pre-mRNA processing, Yuko writes, only mature mRNA export. It's a very complex process, and there's so many things that can mess this up right now. And 6G is one more thing that can screw things up. Thank you, Shutterstock, for sharing this. So the auroras, the proton storms, and the 6G and other things can mess up your DNA, RNA, mRNA processes. They can. And you've got other things coming too, biblically speaking. You've got two disaster options coming up in the 1 through 4 trumpets, the impactors or the dust from the galactic magnetic current sheet. Both plague us during that time frame. So during four tiny little plagues, boom, 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 you're going to have impactors. A series of impactors coming through, larger, gradually larger, and then the dust will come through by the 4th trumpet. Okay, so once again, Donald Trump is saying, I want 5G and even 6G technology in the United States as soon as possible. It's far more powerful, faster, and smarter than the current standard. American companies must step up their efforts or get left behind. No, we need to look at this because back in 2019, he just wants to be first. I'm saying one, messenger, human and animal, mRNA stressors, okay? Those processes that I just explained are very complex, okay? There are severe geomagnetic changes occurring right now. We're observing them with the low latitude auroras. We have also the thinning magnetosphere, okay? And then we have the increasing low latitude solar storms, as I've mentioned, increased UV at Earth's surface, increased charged particles at Earth's surface. We've got 6G, we've got gene therapy jibby-jabbers too. So many of these things are corrupting our processes, those complex processes with the messenger RNA system, okay, and transcription. Now, I'll show you something fun to end it up just so you'll say, well, at least Joel said something nice. Okay, so God's signature. What he's saying in the DNA is that it's 4 nucleide acids bind the helixes together in sulfuric bridges at the sequence of ATCG. So it's every 10, 5, 6, 5 acids. And that is Yud, He, Vav, He. So a Yud is a 10, a He is a 5, a Vav is a 6, and a He is a 5. So the DNA molecule is a double helix consisting of 2 major sequence strands that spiral clockwise. These strands are connected by sulfur bridges, like the rungs of a ladder. It's like the Sulam that Jacob saw going up into heaven. These bridges are not evenly spaced along the molecule, but they do have a specific pattern. There's a bridge. There's 10 segments later, then there's another one. Then 5 segments later, and another one. 6 segments later, and another one. 5 segments later, and another bridge. That's 10, 5, 6, 5 pattern is then repeated over and over again for the entire length of the molecule. He created this, then he signed his name in our very DNA. Interesting. Cool. Okay. So I'm saying that 6G is part of the process. There are many other things degrading our messenger RNA processes. And so we need to be aware of that because we're in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation, but we're watching the degradation of our genetic code. Okay. So you'll get married someday soon. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. What garments will you wear? You can't be naked for a wedding. You can't wear dirty garments. You have to show up righteous. God bless you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for a very complex video. And be blessed. We hopefully will see you soon. Wednesday night, I'm going to have Elizabeth Nebenfuhr on, and she is going to be very interesting. Take care. God bless. Bye.